Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's me, Mysterious Cameraman, and today we're going to be reviewing Shogun Episode 10, A Dream Within a Dream, or Dream of a Dream. Before we get into it, I just want to say two things. One, thank you guys so much for having the last one blow up. It's now in my top 5 videos of all time, so that's something. And it's only a week old, so I kind of felt obligated to do an Episode 10 as well as a few other ones because of how well that did. I have no clue how this is going to do, but I purposely woke up early to watch it and all that stuff. Yes, before the other thing I want to say is I'm not in my normal area where I film. I'm not even in my home state. So if the audio sounds weird, if the audio cuts a little, I'm sorry, but yeah, let's just jump right into the review. This was incredible. I just want to say, which is what I've been seeing online as well. This is not the finale I expected, but I think this is actually a better finale than I could have hoped for. I was hoping to see that big finale, that big fight that we saw in that vision. That, if you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. But, towards the end, when Yabushige and Toranaga are talking, and there's, that vision to the battlefield, I kind of wish I saw that prior to the episode. And honestly, yeah, I still wish I do. It would have been pretty cool. But it doesn't make sense story-wise. In my opinion, even though this finale isn't climactic, it is still a pretty incredible finale. It really just does so much so well. It opens with that Blackthorn future thing. I don't fully understand how that happened, because I thought that was Mariko's necklace, and we saw it dropped in the river, so I don't know if that's actually it. If that was a dream of what the future could be. I don't fully know, but that was definitely Blackthorn in the future. As for the following part, which was the next part of the episode, I feel like that was actually very strong. I loved the way that they were depicting the aftermath of the explosion. I loved how I think this was the best episode of Blackthorn and Yabushige. I think especially from Yabushige. This episode, the way he's using his grief and how mentally unstable he is, I think it's incredible. And the fact that he also goes back to Osaka I think it's Osaka, or he leaves Osaka to go to Toranaga and die instead of stay with Ishido, I think that's just a very interesting decision, because he knew he was going to die. So I think that was just such an interesting decision from Yabushige. But one of my favorite parts of the episode actually was when Yabushige had his line. And it was let me die to some, he wanted some exotic death. I don't remember what it was. It was death by a lot of fish or something. I don't fully remember. But that would have been such an interest. I love that line, because there's so many callbacks in this episode to the first episode. I love the way that they utilize them, especially with Yubushige's character. Another character I loved in this was Fuji. I love the way that they were depicting the boxes, how they were in the first episode, how we saw the baby die, how we saw we didn't see the father die, but we knew he died. So even though we didn't see that happen, throughout all the time them kept keeping the ashes and then giving them a burial at sea, that was such an emotional moment, for me at least. And I love the council voting, but I love really the whole episode. I think I don't think this was the best episode. I want to make this clear. I don't think that this was the best episode in the whole series. In my opinion, I'm going to make a video probably ranking the episodes. This is probably third. It's still very good. In my opinion, though, episode 9 is still the best episode, because I feel that's the big finale, and in my opinion, the episode was good the whole way through. In my opinion, the best part of the episode was Yubushige's death scene. And I'm not just saying the scene, but that whole dialogue between him and Toranaga. Because that's when everything's really revealed. And I love the way that they are saying... one of my favorite lines in the whole episode was when Toranaga said, doing Crimson Sky with a whole army. Like, whatever the line was like, one woman was more powerful than a whole army. And I feel like the idea of Crimson Sky was always depicted to be a full violent rush on Osaka. But what it really was just one woman causing so much terror, messing so much up. And I feel like those seeds were planted throughout the whole thing. And it shows really how genuinely smart Toranaga is. And I was like so impressed at that point in the whole episode. I was like I could feel my jaw like dropping and not like closing the 30 minutes in, maybe. Because as much as I loved a lot of the episode prior, I want to make it clear, I loved the priest and Blackthorn's dialogue in the woods. I love that part. I love all the stuff with Fuji, as I said prior to that point. I love the Ishido part. Anything with Ishido as well. I love his scene with Ibushige and his scene with the Council of Regents. I love the stuff with Uchiba. But as much as I love that stuff, I don't feel like any of it compares to that Ibushige Toranaga dialogue. And as much as I love, in my opinion, episode 9 has the two of the 3 best fight scenes in the series. And as much as I love those fights, I'm not counting fights in this, but in my opinion, this episode is the best scene, not counting fight scenes, in the whole series. And that is the Toranaga Ibushige scene. I love the way, especially in him explaining the future. I think the idea of Uchiba being friends with Mariko was something I think most people knew from the start that she was going to turn after Mariko died. But I feel like even coming out of last episode, you kind of saw all of Toranaga's plans, how much one person could have stirred up everything. But I feel like this episode does it even better. I love that Mariko spared Blackthorn's life. I thought that was incredible. And I also feel like the way that they depict the plan, now, I keep like trying to avoid talking about it for some reason, but I love the scene when they talk about like that whole sequence, how they show Ochiba retreating the armies because she is grief-stricken by Mariko, as we saw from the start. I think that was pretty obvious that was going to happen. And then how all the regents how they wouldn't have the army, how Ishido wouldn't have a flag because he wouldn't be serving anyone, and then all the regents would turn on Ishido. I feel like that's such a brilliant plan. And honestly, I'm happy that we didn't see it. I think that if this was a 12-episode series, I think that Mariko's death, A, wouldn't have stuck the landing, and B, I think that there would have to be another bit of build-up to this final fight. And even when we got the final fight, I feel like it would be so cool to see Toranaga win and then be Shogun. But I think that also I think part of what makes this finale so powerful is the fact that we don't know how the story ends. I don't think there's ever going to be season 2, but the way that this story ends, instead of knowing, and if it ended with like Toranaga sitting on the throne and being declared Shogun, I think that would have been cool. But I think seeing him like conquer armies, that would have been a pretty awesome ending. But I think the idea of us as an audience not really knowing, but being more, instead of being astounded by seeing the plan work out, I think it is honestly more powerful for us as an audience to see Toranaga just knowing how the plan is going to turn out, seeing exactly what's going to happen. And instead of showing us his victory, us as an audience know he won. We know that he probably won. But I think it also adds mystery and makes it so the show will stick with us. I now have started reading the Shogun book, like the novel. I'm not far in. It's long. The thing is I know it's broken up into 2 parts. I don't know if the show covers just part 1 or both parts. I believe it's both parts, but I could be wrong. I think it's both parts. I'm almost certain, but I could be wrong. So currently I'm loving the book, though. I might do a review comparing the book and the show when I'm done. I don't know how long it's going to take, though. But this episode, in my opinion, did such a good job showing how powerful, really how powerful the Toranaga is. Because they could have shown that Toranaga was like a powerful person and showed it in that final battle. But I feel like that would have taken away from, I think the most powerful thing should be the death of Mariko in the series. That should be the climax, not Ishido's death. And another thing I forgot to mention is Blackthorn threatening Seppuku. I thought that scene was also pretty incredible. I love the way that Toranaga stops him. Who's like, how he like takes out the sword, how Toranaga is confused why, and how it shows Toranaga that Blackthorn finally understands. He's finally understanding the tradition. He's finally understanding the rules, and he's finally grown up, I guess you could say. Like, this is the turning point for Blackthorn's character, and I feel like this is such a great. That was such a great way of showing it. And that was another one of the most powerful scenes in the whole series. I feel like it's kind of like, because it's not that late in the episode, I think it's kind of forgotten a little. But I was like 30 minutes in, and I looked at the timestamp. I was like, how? I was like, because I was still expecting there to be that big battle. And I feel like last episode was the same thing. I was expecting a huge Crimson Sky battle, and then episode 10 to be Falling Climax, and I didn't get that. But I feel like I was actually more satisfied coming out of the episode. And that was the same thing this time. I expected a big final battle, but I think I'm getting more out of this show because there wasn't some big flashy battle. And if you want a big flashy samurai battle, watch something else, because that's not what this is about. This is first and foremost a political drama, I feel. And it's more powerful to show the strategy of Toranaga in his planning than showing how it's actually going to go. And it leaves more mystery as well. Even though we're never going to see that final battle, I think us as an audience, knowing how it's going to end, it just works so well. And this episode, even though it wasn't my favorite, personally, because I'm also a sucker for action, even though this episode wasn't my favorite, it ties together the entire story of Shogun so well. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to miss this series. As someone who I've said in so many videos at this point how much I love feudal Japan, this show has really, like, brought back that love. Like, I feel like it disappeared from me for a few years. This show really brought that back. And showed, because I've seen the movies. I've seen Last Samurai I watched a few weeks ago. There was another one I saw. There was another one, I'm blanking on the name. It wasn't great, but if you want to watch a samurai film, go watch one. But this is not big action. It is when it needs to be, but this is more of a story of a strategist, not of a shogun. And I think I think this show is good. I think if you rewatch the show knowing what's going to happen, instead of having the week breaks, if you can binge the show, I think it will be so much more powerful. And overall, this show was incredible. This episode was incredible, and I can't wait to do a full review on it in a few days. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. The show is so incredible. Really, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. If you haven't watched episode 10 and watched this review, I kind of just spoiled the whole episode for you, so you're welcome. And besides that, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.